Hey, what's up, guys? JB here. Today, I have something just a little bit different prepared, and we're going to talk about how to better optimize and level up your play to help take your game to the next level. Maybe you're a casual player looking to become a bit more competitive, or maybe you're just a newer player to the game. So, I have 7 tips that we're going to talk about today to help you do just that. So, let's get started. Now, to kick this one off, this one is going to be one of the most important ones that we talk about today. It's going to be a multifaceted tip because there are just a lot of ways to accomplish this within the game. And I'm going to touch on just a few of my favorites here. My first suggestion is going to be to get involved with Weekly Arena and aim for that top 5K bracket as a starting point. And if you're able to make it into the top 1000, that is even better. Now, as you do Arena, you're going to be able to complete the monthly missions and get access to Arena refresh pots, which is a free resource that you can use to climb those leaderboards every day. Now, the sweet spot for this that I have found over the years is that top 1000 bracket they were just mentioning, where you can earn 800 Visiore if you can finish there for the week. Now, even if you end up having to spend 200 Visiore on refreshes in order to sneak into that bracket, it does actually end up being worth it for you because there is an additional 300 Visiore on the line in the difference between the 5K and the 1K bracket. The next breakpoint there at that point is really going to be that top 100 zone, and at that point it does take quite a bit more dedication and resources in order to finish there, and generally you do need all of the latest bonus units and vision cards as well. Now, another side benefit of doing Arena is that is going to be your main source of crafting medals, which are required for +6 max level equipment. Now, my second tip within this topic of extending Visiore is centered around the concept of rushing up newly pulled units. As tempting as it can be to buy those shard packs and the excitement after grabbing the latest unit, that can actually work against you, especially early on where you might not have the luxury of reserves of Mog medals or Vision Stars saved up to reduce the cost of building those units. So I am going to urge you to try and stave off that as much as possible. This is something that I still do myself, as a weekly spender in this game. I do try to grab each and every last free shard that I can. And these come from things like login bonuses, Chocobo missions, keeping that barracks stocked and replenished at all times, and putting that new unit in hard quests day one if they are available. And even those free summon tickets that they give us as login bonuses as well. And I do all this to save the buying of those shard packs for the very last moment as my absolute last resort. So over time, if you're able to do this and save yourself from having to buy a pack or two by collecting all those free shards, that in the end is going to increase your horde stash because in the end you're wasting less Visiore on the way as a result. Now, my third suggestion here in this topic is going to make sure that you're banging out all of those new missions and quests as they're released weekly in the game. I think that there are a few areas there that some players overlook. Every event that's released does generally come with corresponding multiplayer missions in that events tab. And even if you have missed some, maybe if you're newer to the game, you are going to be able to find a stockpile of them in your Farplane Archives tab there in the missions. So do take advantage of those. We do have a daily key that we can get to unlock some of those missions. Start checking those off your list and you're going to start seeing that Visiore number climb. My final suggestion here is going to be to have a reserve fund set aside for Visiore back banners. Now, when you are a brand new account in the game, there is actually one of these banners active. You can get a ton of Visiore early on if you are able to grind out the story and finish off that banner. So of course, do that if you are brand new to the game, but these banners have also historically returned for the veteran players as well, usually during big anniversary events or celebrations. A lot of us are anticipating getting one over this 3rd anniversary here as well. So make sure that you do have a reserve fund set aside in preparation for those banners when they do come around. That is a way that you can get a ton of free Visiore. Of course, if you can go all the way up to that 70K, that is best. But even if you have maybe 10, 30K set aside so you can do the first few steps, I can't really recommend it enough. Now, if you are a new or a returning player, you may not know that there is a feature called background farming, where you can basically log in at the start of your day or whenever, and you have your team go in and farm a level for as long as you've set that for. Now, at that point, you can then shut down the game and go about your day, and all of that loot is going to be ready and waiting for you to pick up when you return. This is probably the single best quality of life feature that they have ever given us in War of the Visions. So if you're not taking advantage of it in full, stop what you're doing and go set that up. Now, once that is done, if you do actually have time to play the game and then you have energy to burn thereafter, well, now you can employ a tactic I call double farming. Let's say you have set your background farm on whatever is the latest double drop event. Well, at this point, you can then go into the multiplayer and also farm that same double drop mission in the multiplayer area as well. Or maybe there's a second event that you need resources from. You can go ahead and start farming that one simultaneously and even get those bonus drops on top of it if you are hosting. This can be a great way to bang out a ton of resources super quick and finish out that latest equipment and farm that up lightning fast. The release of the Truststone system was not well handled in this game, and unfortunately right from the get-go, it turned off a ton of players, and some to this day who will not touch it even now. And with good reason. The system on its introduction was overly grindy, way too RNG based, overly convoluted, and difficult to understand. Flash forward to today, and there have been a number of quality of life enhancements that have made the Truststone system much more palatable. While the system still is largely targeted towards the end game and experienced players, many of the other annoyances have been mitigated or eliminated through quality of life enhancements. So I can't recommend enough that players dive in there and start things to experiment with it, even if all you do for now is just farm the refinement chamber in order to hoard materials until you can understand it better. And if you are one of those players that did nope out right from the get-go, get in there and give it another chance. There are a number of YouTube guides out there on the subject from people like Oron J, Kason, Ready Player Will, and others, which can help get you on your way if you need them. And it's definitely going to help you big time if you can start that Truststone journey early on. That way you can work on and refine your trust sets and add to them over time, because really it is an iterative process. There's always going to be new configurations and combinations of Truststones that you're going to want for the end game. And honestly, just sort of working with the system, playing around with it and testing it out does go a long way in sort of helping you understand not only Truststones, but the game itself a lot better. Now, this one could probably be my number one tip, and if you walk away with nothing else today, walk away with this one. Max those vision cards while they're on banner, especially the limited time ones. Now, if it is a permanent pool card, and it does have a hard quest associated with it, maybe that is something that you can pull it and just get the bingo shards and then sort of slowly work on it in the background. But, like I said, especially for those limited cards, once they're off banner, it is very, very difficult to finish them off. You essentially are waiting for the card to come back on a rerun at that point. So, I can't recommend enough finish off those cards. Now, on top of that, you are going to want to make sure that you're not neglecting your backlog of existing vision cards either. These days, we are getting a lot of login medals and event medals that can be used on permanent pool vision cards and units as well. And I am going to highly recommend that at least a portion, if not all of those medals, do go towards the backlog of your vision cards. Now, if you do have a bunch of those older cards and you don't really know where to start and which one to max out first, well, I've got you there. I have made several videos dedicated specifically to this topic. So if you haven't seen those yet, I will go ahead and put a link to my War of the Visions 101 series playlist in the description. I have those guides in there as well as several other topics. The general takeaway here though is that don't neglect the vision cards. For endgame PvP, you can make a convincing argument that they are the singular most important facet of the game. The most popular form of PvP in War of the Visions is auto PvP, meaning the AI is controlling all of your actions. And in order to get better at that type of PvP, you really need to understand on a deep level how the game works, how the AI works, and really learn all of those mechanics. I know that it can be super quick and convenient just to hit that skip button and kind of move on to the next thing that you're trying to do, but one of the best ways to learn the game is to actually watch and study your PvP battles. And I recommend people do this especially for your Guild War fights, or if you're into manual, you can do that for your free match or class match fights. I think that can be an essential teaching tool for yourself. Now, within the guild battle area, there is a mock battle feature as well that I do recommend that people use whenever a new map comes along, or you have made changes or tweaks, to your team. And you want to do that to ensure that things are working out exactly how you want them. You want to watch closely how your units are moving, pay attention to the buffs and the skills that they're using, and then you can think about about small changes or tweaks that you might do that, might affect their movement or change the turn order, or maybe how to get the buffing sequences in a more optimized manner. The next step at that point would be to implement those changes and then test out how they work by doing more mock battles. Or you can even put them into free match or arena and test them out there. Now, a big part of being able to understand what you're watching there, as you're playing back your PvP battles, is to actually know the kits of the units that you're playing with, what they do and what their ranges are, and etc. And that is one of the main reasons that I do focus on those abilities in such detail in my review videos. Now, aside from that, there are a number of great websites that you can go to sort of quickly brush up on those skills as well. One of my favorites is War of the Visions Calc, or WoTV Calc. Now, this tip is going to be another multifaceted one, as there are several aspects to it, but a large portion of the dedicated fan base for this game communicates almost exclusively through an application called Discord. Now, whether it's through your own guild's Discord or whether you actually join a larger War of the Visions community, this is going to have several benefits. Not only do you have that camaraderie and collaboration with other players, but it's a great place to sort of ask questions on things that you need help with, or maybe just lurk in the channels and glean information from veteran players of the game. A large portion of endgame PvP in WoTV does revolve around daily guild war and sort of working with your fellow guildmates in those battles. Now, joining a guild that does take that a bit more seriously, I think makes the game quite a bit more fun and interesting. But obviously, how serious you take it and your comfort level there, that's going to be different for everyone. I will say, though, that there are guild communities out there that they do offer guilds of various ranks that run the gamut, down the leaderboards, where you can find a guild that fits your play style best. And again, this is something that you can find within those Discord communities that we just talked about. There are usually guild recruitment channels there that you can peruse and find out what works for you. Now, my last point here in this social aspects is that as you progress and you build your account and, maybe you've conquered, some various PvP challenges, maybe you're ready for something new and even more challenging. I would say consider joining a community PvP league or hosted tournament. This is where I'll actually toot my own horn here a little bit. I have been running a manual PvP tournament scene for some time now. We try to keep a monthly cadence for those tournaments, and we do vary up and try to keep the rule sets interesting. Now, I do include a link to the manual PvP Discord in the description of all my videos, so if that's something that interests you, go ahead and join our Discord, set your role as a tournament player, and then you'll be notified the next time one of those tournaments comes around. If manual PvP isn't really your jam, well, the good news there is that there are a number of auto PvP tournament scenes out there as well. Things like Friday Night Fights from Oran J, the WDL hosted by Kason, and the Lukavi Guild, which has been hosting regular tournaments now for a number of months. To top it all off, Gumi and Square have now unveiled their own official tournaments, so it's all very exciting, and I'll actually be putting links to all of those in the description below, so definitely check that out if that's something that interests you. Now, this is going to be my final tip today, and this one is going to be more of a philosophical tip. Personally, I think that it's important to remember that War of the Visions is very much a marathon and not a sprint. Remember that a lot of us veteran players out there have been on this treadmill for a number of years now, and no matter how much you spend or grind in the early days of your account, you're not going to be able to catch up to those longtime players overnight. And to be honest, you're not supposed to be able to get there overnight, because the building out of your account and the experience that you get doing that is a big part of, how do you actually learn the game and eventually how to play it at a high level. But, if you do plan and spend your resources wisely, with time, you can and will be able to get there and compete at the top ends of the game if that is what your goal is. But of course, that is going to take a lot of dedication, research, and learning. That is really the process. So always remember to walk, before you can run. Don't rush and waste your resources. Try not to give into FOMO or fear of missing out. Certainly that last one in particular, can be one of the most difficult things to do in a game like this that sort of, lives on those hype cycles. Spending in the game can help you, of course it always does, but make sure that you do it responsibly and within your means. As a pretty big spender in the game myself, I've had moments in the past where I have spent a lot more money on these types of games than I've wanted to and felt comfortable with. What I have found works best for me is to set a monthly budget that I am comfortable with and set that in stone and make sure that I work on having the discipline in order to stick to that on a monthly basis. I view these live service or gacha style games as an entertainment medium similar to how I might view going out to the movies, purchasing a Netflix subscription, or just going out to the bar to have some drinks with some friends. In that the entertainment value is purely transient and of the moment for the fun and memories that I am making in real time. And what I'm getting out of the game is not something that I'm taking with me beyond that, once I have myself or even the game has inevitably moved on. All right, guys, so there are my 7 tips for today. I did try to cater this, maybe more for newer or returning players, but I hope even for my veterans out there that, maybe you picked up some insights here today that you can walk away with as well. I haven't really made a video specifically like this one before, so definitely let me know what you think. In my view, a massive part of what makes this game great is our amazing community, and a large part of growing and cultivating that community does fall on our shoulders. So if there's another great tip that you have, go ahead and pop it in the comments. Let's help out our newer folks out there. It's a big anniversary milestone for the game. We have some huge collabs and hype units that are going to be coming through, and we're going to be seeing a lot of new faces around, so let's pay it forward and give them all a hand. If you enjoyed the video today, hit that like button. It really helps me out with the YouTube algorithm, and if you like what I'm doing here on the channel, hit that subscribe button if you want to see more. And that's really all that I have to say for today. So as always, stay safe out there, and I'll see you guys in the next one.